Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Eric Unlimited, and I'm back at it. Never mind, I'm not gonna say that. But anyway, I'm back, you know what I'm saying, with another video. And in today's video, we are reacting to Smithville. They say it's the world's strongest tornado recorded in history. So as you can see, apparently it started April 27th, 2011. That's crazy. I was only 5 years old when that happened. Dang, but it seems so long. I ain't even heard nothing about it. I haven't heard nobody talking about it or nothing like that. So, but we're gonna find out what happened on April 27th, 2011. So let's get straight into it.
2011. Sirens are blaring across a small town in rural Mississippi as residents make their way to a local storm shelter. Cramming inside, the screams of the sirens begin to fade as a terrible roar gets louder and louder, drowning out the sounds of their panicked breaths as the ground begins to tremble. The strongest tornado in U.S. history has just entered their town.
Whoa.
It's late April, and meteorologists at the Storm Prediction Center are scanning the atmosphere, looking for key ingredients needed for the formation of severe weather when they notice something concerning.
This video itself is 25 minutes, but we're not going to watch the whole thing. We just want to know, what's going on. So, we're not going to watch the whole thing. This video is not going to be that long. Trust me.
Called a trough is moving across the United States, nation of atmospheric conditions. The mixture of warm, moist air with cold, dry air aloft is generating large amounts of atmospheric instability needed for thunderstorms called convective available potential energy, or CAPE. Additionally, the fast-moving southwesterly winds of the trough are overspreading a powerful, low-level jet of air rushing north, creating incredibly large amounts of both speed and directional wind shear needed to cause thunderstorms to begin rotating. Noting that all the ingredients for severe weather are now in place, the Storm Prediction Center issues a rare, high-risk outlook for severe weather, including a 30% outlook for strong tornadoes. By 1 a.m., a tornado outbreak was already underway across Mississippi and Alabama, as unexpected lines of powerful thunderstorms called quasi-linear convective systems, or QLCS, moved across the area, causing widespread damage to infrastructure, while also leaving behind a dangerous thermal boundary draped across northern Alabama and Mississippi. As bad as things were, they were only going to get worse. As the sun begins to heat up the atmosphere on April 27th, meteorologists noticed that the storm system was even stronger than expected, prompting them to increase their outlook to an unbelievable 45% risk, noting, a major outbreak of intense, long track, and perhaps violent tornadoes is expected. However, none of them could have imagined the scale of what was about to take place.
Wow.
At 10:30 a.m., a cluster of storms erupts near Monroe, Louisiana, slowly gaining strength before merging together, organizing into a powerful, rotating thunderstorm called a supercell, spinning faster and faster as the clouds begin reaching towards the ground. Just after 3 p.m., an ominous-looking funnel hovers above the ground and within seconds reaches the surface. The newly formed tornado initially causes only weak damage as it tracks to the northeast, bringing down patches of trees and causing light damage to rural structures. However, just 1 minute later, the tornado rapidly intensifies, completely destroying a couple mobile homes and scattering the debris long distances.
Right there, having a mobile home, it may, if that's what you can afford is a mobile home, get it. But my suggestion would be, you want to get a place that's sturdy. Even though, depending on how heavy or strong that tornado is or storm, depending on how strong it is, it can still tear, the house down or whatever. But I feel like you would have a better chance of surviving if you have a house or apartment that's made out of brick, something that's real hard. Pause. And, if you have something like that, you may have a better chance of surviving.
Threatening large swaths of forest as it races to the northeast at over 60 miles per hour. It's at this moment that multiple people begin recording the tornado for the first time as it approaches the small towns of Anchor.
Man, let me tell you something. They doing all that recording. Not me, boy. I'm out, bruh. Soon as I see a funnel, I'm out. I'm packing my stuff and I'm out. Why would I just stay there just to record it? And then I'm up. And then I end up getting sucked up by the tornado and I'm over here like this. Trying to record it. Like, come on, man. I'm out of there, bro. As soon as I see clouds and they already said it's a tornado, bye-bye.
Tornado as it approaches his location.
Oh, snap.
With the roar of the approaching tornado only getting louder, the family decides to move out of the tornado's way. When they return, there's little remaining of their home. After sweeping away many homes at EF3 strength, the tornado races off to the northeast, leaving behind a visible scar in the ground. But
Whoa.
Unbeknownst to those in its path, the true power of the monster had yet to be unleashed. At 3:19 p.m., the National Weather Service issues a strongly worded tornado warning as the now large and extremely dangerous tornado is approaching the small towns of Okolana, New Wren, Amory, and Smithville, Mississippi. After crossing County Road 159, the tornado abruptly begins showing signs of extreme intensification, badly debarking trees and completely leveling well-built homes down to their foundations, with some being completely swept away.
Wow.
The narrow but violent core of the rapidly expanding tornado became so intense here that it even began to rip up the earth, creating a nearly mile-long swath of severe ground scouring despite moving at over 60 miles per hour.
Oh my
At
God.
this speed and size, this extreme damage is inflicted in less than 2 seconds. At the same moment, local resident Greg Lambert takes a photo of the tornado, revealing the monster wedge as it passes just to his north.
Oh.
4 miles away on Highway 45 alternate, 55-year-old Lynn Davis is driving south in his white pickup truck on his way to help his friend Tim, who suffered damage from a tornado earlier that day. While on the phone with Tim, Lynn begins to notice something strange approaching over the trees and utters a chilling phrase. "That looks like a tornado," before the phone call suddenly ends. A semi-truck driver driving directly behind Lynn watches in horror as Lynn's vehicle is peeled off the roadway by the ferocious winds of the tornado. Soaring hundreds of feet into the air, Lynn and his truck begin to orbit around the violent winds of the twister, trapped inside the tornado's grip in a cruel balance of forces as it begins to close in on the small community of Chapel Grove. Crashing into the community at peak strength, the tornado inflicts incredible damage to several well-constructed brick homes, completely sweeping them off their foundations, causing intense vegetation damage and scouring the ground. As the tornado moves past town, however, it suddenly begins to weaken, breaking the delicate balance of forces that have trapped Lynn Davis and his truck mid-air, and suddenly, Lynn comes crashing back to Earth, sadly killing him on impact.
Whoa.
Lynn Davis's truck had flown an unbelievable 1.7 miles through the air before finally landing near the foundation of one of the destroyed homes,
that's not a lot.
the furthest
That's not too
distance
far.
a vehicle has ever been thrown by a tornado. Over the next 10 miles, the tornado destroys several homes near the town of New Wren before finally dissipating at 3:39 p.m. just north of the city of Amory, Mississippi, claiming the lives of 4 people. However, something far stronger was brewing.
It's
As the
still
first
coming?
tornado begins to weaken,
Pause.
the parent supercell continues to track to the northeast, drawing closer and closer to the dangerous thermal boundary left by storms earlier in the day. Near the boundary, saturated air and backed winds will lower the storm's base closer to the ground and increase the already incredibly high low-level wind shear, turning an already historic atmosphere into what is possibly the most extreme tornadic environment ever recorded. If the supercell could tap into this environment, a tornado of unimaginable power would be released, and at 3:40 p.m., that's exactly what happened. Sirens begin to scream as the supercell merges with a smaller storm to its south, developing a new area of powerful rotation just to the north of the dissipating tornado.
Dang.
While this is happening, two amateur storm chasers, Camille Collins and Ashley Hurley, go outside to get a better look at the intensifying storm.
See, this is what I be talking about, bro. I get it that it's cool or whatever. It may look cool, but it's also dangerous. It's also dangerous, bro. And that's the thing. I'm not trying to turn this into a race thing, but us, us, we not doing that. We're not gonna go outside and, ooh, it's a tornado. Let's go out and jump in it. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that whatsoever. Dang.
Within just a few seconds, the two begin to notice a strange-looking cloud passing directly to their northwest that begins rotating incredibly quickly. Moments later, a funnel lowers towards the ground. Hovering just above the surface, the tornado starts its life as a relatively weak vortex, doing little more than snapping trees as it moves along the Tombigbee waterway, but this weak phase is short-lived. The tornado's condensation funnel suddenly reaches the ground and explodes in intensity, drilling a narrow but incredibly intense swath of damage, removing several inches of grass and soil from the surface. At the same time, the now violent tornado crashes into a forest, flattening every single tree in its path, stripping them of their bark. It's at this moment, however, that something unexpected happens. As the tornado passes through the forest, its core suddenly collapses. Ripped apart by the intense wind shear, the tornado struggles, only inflicting minor damage to trees and low-lying vegetation as it races to the northeast. For a brief moment, it appears as if the residents in the storm's path have just dodged a bullet, avoiding the worst of the storm's wrath. However, this lapse in strength isn't going to last long. Just as fast as it weakened, the tornado strikes a delicate balance between the powerful wind shear trying to tear it apart and the unstoppable power of the storm's updraft trying to keep it together, and a tornadic core of incredible power crashes to Earth. Instantly, all the trees and vegetation surrounding the vortex are flattened and debarked as the core accelerates from EF1 to EF5 intensity in less than 6 seconds.
Dang.
At the same time, the winds inside the vortex become so strong and the pressure drops so violently that the ground begins to literally explode outwards, digging a trench in the ground over a foot deep and 170 yards long. Unbelievably, due to the tornadic core's fast-forward speed and relatively small size, this incredible feat of damage is inflicted in less than half a second. Racing to the northeast at a brutal 63 miles per hour, the tornado
63?
begins to set its sights on the small town of Smithville, Mississippi. 3/4 of a mile to the northeast, Tim Nix, along with several others, are frantically descending down the opening of a storm shelter when they catch a glimpse of the whirling gray mass racing directly at them. With just seconds to spare, Tim takes a photo of the approaching tornado before closing the door to the shelter behind him. Rapidly expanding and growing stronger with every second that passes, the tornado impacts the intersection of Davis Road and Highway 25, deeply scouring the ground and completely sweeping away 2 mobile homes as well as a bed and breakfast, granulating the debris into tiny pieces and scattering what was left long distances downwind. 3 people are thrown into the air as their homes disintegrate around them, 2 of which, a mother and daughter, are thrown into a nearby culvert and miraculously survive despite major injuries.
Dang.
The third, however, thrown from the bed and breakfast, is sadly killed, becoming the first person to lose their life to the tornado.
Wow.
At the same location, 3 vehicles stood parked near the bed and breakfast, a large RV and 2 semi-trucks. As the core passes, all 3 vehicles soar into the air despite weighing tens of thousands of pounds each. Flying for hundreds of yards, the RV and one of the semi-trucks come crashing to Earth, deeply embedding themselves into the ground as unrecognizable husks of scrap metal.
That's crazy, bro. People be crazy, you know? Going outside when the storm happening. I had people go outside in shorts. I remember there was a hurricane. And people outside at the beach and everything like that. One dude went on a run. He went on a jog. My man like this. Whole time he like this. Jogging while it's a hurricane going on. Some people don't use common sense. But hey, that's the end of this video. You know what I'm saying? I ain't finna watch the rest of it. We already know what's going on. The tornado blew up everything. If y'all like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next video.